Welcome to Cinema-Savants, your weekly dose of movie news, movie reviews, and the occasional rumor. With your hosts, Todd Vandenberg and Rob Steele. And coming up in this week's show, a bizarre twist at Fox Television. The Avengers scramble the movie schedules. Who wasn't nominated ever? And who knew that My Neighbor Totoro had a sequel? Seriously. But first, just to further complicate Todd's emotions, a nice comfy twin bed of movie news. Meaning we're of course joined by Lee. Why am I not in the opening credits yet, Vowel?
Look, I got in trouble for the twin bed thing. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So
I'm just
how much trouble did you get in?
I got a good slapping.
Ooh.
Not really, not a slapping.
A pimp slapping, I hope. Because in a twin bed, that could be fun.
Right. Meanwhile, back at the Oscars, because we'll start where we left off last week.
Good idea.
There were some things that happened that we weren't expecting, like Frances McDormand's Oscar. Did you guys see about this? Because this was a blip. It was there and the story was gone.
Yeah.
Her Oscar got stolen.
By Meryl Streep.
Apparently some guy got a hold of her Oscar and ran off with it at, the governor's ball. And he took a lot of selfies with it, going, got this tonight, this is mine, we got it tonight, baby, yeah, look, I got an Oscar. And the police went, no, and tracked him down and took it back, and he's in jail now. I haven't heard of anything like that before. Usually they kind of hold the Oscar the entire night or something. Very strange.
Well, it shows how important it was to her. I think I'll just put it down here because I didn't get enough shrimp.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Just like I've won one of these before. What's the big deal,
Yeah.
And Meryl upset by the low ratings.
Yeah, Meryl Streep probably would have taken it because I'm sure, they're like bookends for her, and she probably just needed another one for the third master bedroom in her fourth house. Because, that was an odd little. The oddest thing to me is how quickly they got it back. That's what the funny thing was. Of course, when you're
that too.
When you're all over social media, look at my Oscar. You're probably going to get caught pretty quickly.
Who knew? Obviously not him.
Right.
The other thing that really threw me off. Did you guys notice the in memoriam package this year?
Mm-hmm.
Did you not notice it was missing a few people?
Mm-hmm.
A few substantial people. Let's see, Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Toby Hope. Let's see, who else was missing from the list? Dorothy Malone, Glenn Campbell, Powers Booth, Bill Paxton, Adam West, Della Reese, Reg E. Cathey, and Miguel Ferrer. How do you miss that many people?
Well, they weren't important to the industry, obviously.
Powers Booth. Yeah, it was... I don't. The thing with that is, it seemed like I liked the way they did it. I thought Eddie Vedder did a really good job with the Tom Petty song, but it was just a different way of doing it. And I thought because they had the in memoriam up on the screen and we were watching it, and then it would go to Eddie, and it's like I'm sure Eddie's not thinking, I really don't want to be the person on the screen right now. I'm supposed to be singing this song in memoriam. And it's like, this is not a concert with this in the background. It's like,
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you brought up the whole thing of the in memoriam. They need to change the producers, like yesterday. Well, actually, like last Sunday. That show sucked. And I don't. I'm not talking about the presenters and how they individually did. I mean, a lot of times the presenters aren't really good. And Jimmy Kimmel was fine, but the whole shtick, they need to stop with it. Oh, let's do a stunt. They constantly talk about, oh, well, we got to rush. It's, oh, let's do a 7-minute comedy bit that no one gives a damn about. Hey, stop that crap right now.
Absolutely.
Wasn't
Jimmy Kimmel the background host on Win Ben Stein's Money? Am I remembering that correctly?
I believe you're remembering that correctly, yes.
Okay.
I think he's fine as the host, but if you want to tighten it up, get rid of a lot of this crap that no one enjoys.
There's a tour bus outside. No.
And don't show the performer while you're paying your respects to those who have passed on. Oh no, let's show the performer. Like you said, I doubt that Eddie Vedder wanted to be on the screen for that. It's like it's an oral performance. You hear him. You don't have to see him. You're supposed to be looking at the screen. And like you said, is my God, how many people did they leave off the list? It just
there could be more that I don't even know about. That's
Bob Newhart for one. Bob Newhart clearly has died at some point and went to the internet. He wasn't on there. So.
It's in a lot of ways it was a train wreck, just because it could have been much more tightly constructed. I mean, it's as if they've never seen a film before. Weird, huh?
Well, speaking of train wrecks and in memoriam, Todd, I hear you saw both the new and old versions of Death Wish this week.
I did. And as we were discussing in pre-pro, as one of our contributors asked, why? Just say again, Lee. Say again why. What your alleged purpose for me was to watch the film.
What my purpose for you watching the film was?
Yeah. Why did you think that?
I'm assuming you just had a Death Wish, and that's why you wanted to see it.
Yeah. The only reason I saw it is because, I'm not going to mention it, but you got this subscription thing that you basically pay ahead of time so you can watch a bunch of movies. That's the only reason. Damn it. Yes. Oh. Yeah, that's the only reason I went to see it, because the trailers, to me, are kind of off-putting. It's all about the violence aspect of it. And I get that, but it should be about more than that. So I see it, and it's exactly the way the trailers are. They've updated it, obviously, because things are more violent these days. The character's name is still Paul Kersey. Bruce Willis does a really good job with the character, with what he's given. But there's really not much of a character arc. I mean, he's a surgeon, for one thing, so it's kind of interesting that a surgeon decides to go off the rails and shoot people. But it's like he just kind of flips and is like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to go shoot people and kill the bad guys. It's just so easily done. And Eli Roth is the director, and of course he's the creator of the Hostel franchise and torture porn, in other words. And so it's very gory, very bloody, and that's okay. But it seems to wallow in that, and that seems to be the kind of the purpose of it. And it's sad because with Bruce Willis, they could have turned out a really, really interesting movie, a really good movie. And Vincent D'Onofrio was in it, and he's excellent with the little bit that he's got to do. I was happy to see him, and it's like, okay, he's just kind of there. He's fascinating to watch, but he doesn't have that much to do, sadly. He's the brother. So, yeah, it's just, this guy takes vengeance, and he's really violent, and then he manages to track down the people who brutalized his family. And if you don't know the story, is like Paul Kersey, his family is brutalized. One member is killed, another is traumatized, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's the story. The original Death Wish came out in 1974. Charles Bronson, I think he was the biggest box office star, period, in that time period. If not, he was really close to it. And that's totally different story. Same kind of initial thing. His family is brutalized, and was a conscientious objector in the Korean War. That's how old this movie is. And he's totally against violence, all the rest of it. And one day he just kind of thinks, because he sees muggings and things, so he just gets a couple rolls of quarters, puts them in a sock, because he thinks, well, enough of this. I've got to do something to protect myself if something happens. And sure enough, something happens, and he just smacks the guy with his sap, his homemade sap. And he runs home from the encounter, and his hand is just shaking so badly because he's so upset about it. And he pours himself a drink, and then he to release the rage, he smashes some stuff in his own house. Later on, he's given a gun, and he takes matters into his own hands at one point.
Things go bang from there.
And he is so upset about it, he runs home and he vomits. That's how it affects him. It sickens him that he shot somebody. And then gradually, then it gets easier and easier, and then he turns into this invincible killing machine, blah, blah, blah. But it takes time for this to happen. It's a long thought out arc, whereas in the new one, it's like he thinks about it for about 4 minutes and is like, yeah, I think I'll kill people. It is so unrealistic and so poorly done. And it's awful because they really could have done a lot with this. They absolutely could have done a lot with a story about, it's not easy to do this. That's what people don't remember about the original Death Wish. It wasn't like, oh, Charles Bronson is just going to go blow people away. It's like, it's really hard to make that decision. And it got easier for him as things went along, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm a killing machine. It was a really tough journey for him. And especially with Bruce Willis, they could have made a hell of a good movie instead of just like, yeah, okay, this is worth seeing if you've already paid for the ticket. Other than that, there's no reason in hell to pay money to see this movie. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's so disappointing compared to what it could have been. The original Death Wish, though, I did want to mention, has some interesting people in it that I had forgotten until I'm watching it again. Jeff Goldblum is a rapist. That's fun. Christopher Guest is a beat cop, and Freddie Boom Boom Washington shows up at the very end as well. So nice little cast there.
Cool. I'm not sure I've actually seen the original, and actually, now that you've mentioned those people, no, I haven't.
It's a really good movie. Really, really good movie. It's not just a revenge fantasy. It turns into that, but it takes a long time to get there.
Do you know if that's on Netflix?
I don't believe it is, because I actually paid $2 to watch it.
Ooh.
And I was happy to pay the $2 because I knew it was a better movie. I just was curious to see if things happen as I remembered. Could have been a long time since I'd seen it, but yeah, they do. So,
actually, you paying your $2. I'm segueing to a story about money. See?
Woo!
Woohoo! Changes from Fox Television. And this is weird, but I like it. And I would like it a lot more, and I'll get to that in a minute. The head sales chief from Fox Networks Group, a guy named Joe Marchese, has said that they're going to do a big shaking up thing with the way they do advertising. Because right now, the Nielsen ratings people say that the average amount of commercials per hour on broadcast TV is 13 minutes. On cable, it's 16 minutes. Fox is going to cut down their advertising time by the year 2020 to 2 minutes per hour. Which means those commercials are going to be damn expensive, and I would be a lot more excited if Fox TV had a show I was interested in seeing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's still not going to make me watch Fox.
That being said, I think that's a cool idea.
Is that just Fox, or is that FX as well? And
right now, it's supposed to be just regular. Well, actually, hang on a minute. Possibly the entire Fox Network group.
Because the Americans is a really good show if you guys haven't watched that. It comes on FX, and it's actually going into its last season, but it's been on for 5 or 6 seasons. If you guys haven't seen that, this is just a plug for that. Excellent show. Really good show.
I was going to say, in that case, I'm very interested because, yeah, FX has a lot of good shows. FXX has a lot of good shows. FXX will probably have at the XFL.
Porn.
Yeah. I'm curious if they're going to do like banner ads at the bottom of the screen, if they're going to put that in, so it's actually going to be there the really entire annoying. Time.
A bunch of ads about Bruce Banner. I don't get that, but whatever.
I would love that. Actually, that wouldn't bother me because I think it would be something that you would just zone out after just a little bit of time and you'd just ignore it.
It's kind of like watching a soccer match. In a way.
Yeah.
The time never stops, but they have the ads. They always have the ads.
So, yeah, I don't think it would be... And that doesn't sound like that's what they're going to do. It sounds like, straight up what you said, they're going to have really expensive ads. Basically, they're going back to things like the Kraft Comedy Hour. It's like it's going to be could be sponsored by a particular company, and there you go. And then you just watch the show.
It's the X-Files, sponsored by the Republican Party. If you thought things were weird before... Sorry.
I really hope Ovaltine makes a huge...
There you go.
Ovaltine. Let's reboot Ovaltine along with everything else we're rebooting.
Sure, why not? And this story is absolutely not related to the previous one because there is no segue to this. And I think this goes back to Frances McDormand again, who mentioned something about a what is the term? I had it here, and then my notes.
Inclusion writer?
Thank you.
Writer. Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan says he's going to, with every new movie he does, he's going to have an inclusion writer. I would have thought that was something that was already there, but apparently not.
No, I think it's, and you may be about to say this, but it's basically, it's a stipulation that actors and actresses can ask to have inserted into their contracts, which would require like a certain level of diversity among the cast and crew. And so I can see it not naturally being there, but, you know, after the Oscars, and we haven't really hit on that, but the Oscars were so, and there's nothing wrong with this, I'm not saying there is, but pro-woman, that I think we're going to hear a lot more about this because there were so many comments made. But yeah, it's Michael B. Jordan coming out with saying that. I think he's the first and probably a huge wave of actors saying they're going to have this involved in their contracts.
Indeed.
Can be a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. And I think it was great that Frances McDormand used her platform to throw that out there, because Google sure exploded with what the heck is inclusion writer? I mean, you saw that all over Twitter. Inclusion writer? What's inclusion writer? Like, you know. And if you think about it,
that's what I did. Is that something? It's like ghostwriter, but different.
Which is what Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did. They did make ghostwriter an inclusion writer.
He would be part of the people with the disability.
They
had to be included.
They use the correct form.
Flaming Skulls I would think that'd be a disability of some kind.
Actually, I thought you guys meant ghost writer, like somebody else was writing the script.
Oh.
Which actually,
sorry, I was trying to segue it to the next Avengers story, but
considering that Robbie was the ghostwriter they used, it's like, isn't it a shame that Eddie Guerrero is no longer with us? Because who would be better as that version of ghostwriter than the original Latino Heat?
Wait, Pedro Guerrero died? What?
It took a long time to get off the rails on this one.
10 minutes in and gone. Okay.
That's a record.
Speaking of off the rails, the Avengers have screwed everything up by moving up a week, because now everybody else wants to rearrange their schedule because they know they'd get swallowed up by the beast that is the Avengers forthcoming. So things like Rampage, which is a completely different beast, has been moved up a week. And so many other things have been rearranged just because the Avengers are coming out, which is weird. I don't know of another movie that has changed its schedule slightly and just thrown everybody else off.
Is that a smart move to move up a week because the Avengers moved up a week? Wouldn't you be happy that that gives us another week for people to go see the Avengers? I mean, to me, it's like I'd think about moving back a week, even though they moved up a week.
Well, no, they moved Rampage to. It was supposed to be 1 week ahead of the Avengers. Now it's 2 weeks to get.
I gotcha. Ahead. That's right. It comes out ahead. Sorry. Yes.
And
indeed.
then and stuff.
Yeah, they would have to.
That's the only movie I have off the top of my head that moved, but there have been like 8 or 9 other movies that went, the Avengers are coming out that week? Never mind, we'll move ours somewhere else.
Yeah. I thought the Han movie moved as well. Did it not? For some reason I was thinking they moved a week.
I'm sorry, which one?
Han, the Solo movie.
Solo is, I think, still at the end of May.
For some reason I thought they changed 1 week, but I might be wrong about that. If this weren't a live show, I could totally fact check that, but you know.
I thought you were talking about the Philip Ahn movie.
Well, that's the one I meant. Yeah,
that too.
I didn't want egg on my face, so I went with Solo. I don't know what I'm talking about.
They announced that the Avengers of Infinity War is going to come in at 156 minutes long, and they're still expecting to make the same kind of money, if not, they're expecting more than Black Panther right now.
Well,
and I think that's pushing it a bit, but.
Well, I mean, this is what they've been building towards since the Birth of a Nation. And I mean the original awful one, not the more recent good one. Yeah, if they don't make more money than Black Panther, I mean, unless the runtime is like Gone with the Wind numbers, they should make more money than Black Panther. They've got problems if they don't. And I mean, yeah, that's a really high target, but This is the culmination of what when they've been working towards for years. So that's a long runtime, though. I mean, to make that kind of money is to get like do they have 70 characters? Yeah, you kind of have to. You would have to have a long runtime just to get in all the side.
That's 2 minutes a character.
Stories.
Everybody run.
Yeah.
Wow. Other Marvel news, and there are some really weird Marvel news things this week. Spider-Man Homecoming 2, or whatever it's going to be called, starts filming on May 19th. And this is what I don't get. In New York, fine, because that's where it takes place. And London, really? And Venice, what? And Prague? Hang on a minute. I don't remember Spider-Man Globetrotter. It all took place in New York. Right.
No, this is the Spider-Man job. Basically, what happens is it's an action film with a bunch of Mini Coopers. It's a different take.
Well, no, I have a friend named Daniel who is very big into Spider-Man to the point where we call him Spider Dan. And I said, dude,
nice.
I don't remember Spider-Man going to all these countries, and neither does he, which kind of worries me about this movie a bit. I mean, I know they use, extra all the CSI episodes, whether it was Vegas, Miami, or New York, were filmed in Anaheim. What the hell? Whatever. I get that, but Prague?
Shouldn't the next Spider-Man movie really be called Spider-Man Prom? I mean,
that would make sense.
Which makes the international locations really, really weird. And then it could be Final Exam or Exam Week. That would be the third one. And
it's the theme of the prom is globetrotting.
That could be it.
The gym they're having it in is really ornately decorated.
Yeah, and they just have posters up of Prague and Venice and stuff like that. That makes sense.
And they have to go take the pictures of it. Speaking of,
that's how it becomes a photographer. It all works together.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of things that didn't happen, they came out with some pictures from the forthcoming X-Men Dark Phoenix movie.
God.
Which shows Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Beast, Quicksilver, and Nightcrawler wearing the traditional yellow and black X-Men costumes. And that's great, except Beast, Storm, Quicksilver, and Nightcrawler never wore those costumes in the books. It's read the source material, you bastards. I don't know how they're continuing to screw up the X-Men stuff, so I'm not holding out any hope for that. Did want to ask you guys this. The Captain Marvel movie that's coming from Marvel Comics, as opposed to the one from DC, which is also coming.
That's Shazam. They don't have the legal right to call him Captain Marvel.
No, they do. They just gave it up. I read that this week, which is
really
weird, but whatever. And you'd think DC would go, Captain Marvel. Wait, that's our rival. We should probably change the name. Hello. So
they bowed to the superior product.
The Captain Marvel in Marvel Comics, there's actually been 3 of them. The third one is brand new and I know nothing about. The second one is the one they're doing the movie on, which is the Carol Danvers, formerly Miss Marvel. I guess she got a promotion. I don't know. Version. But before that, there was a Kree warrior named Mar-Vell.
Yeah.
Who is apparently in this movie. Did we know he was being played by Jude Law?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed that somehow. Or forgot. One of the two. But it got me onto Kree names because we've got Mar-Vell. The bad guy was, in this movie, was what, Belladonna or something, which made me go, oh, so other occupations in the Kree society, you have like a Kree senator named Politic or a sanitation engineer named Janitor.
That's Marvel.
Marvel. Okay. Yeah.
It's all Stanley's fault.
Okay.
We know this.
Stan Lee or Stanley? Is this some guy?
Some guy from The Office. That's where it came from.
That's where it came from. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's the deadpan, low-voiced man from The Office who writes comic books.
I can see him doing that. I can see that character doing that, actually.
Oh, totally. Which is weird. I've just been rewatching The Office for like the 4th time. And there's one little episode where Jim does impressions, and he does an impression of Stanley, and it's awesome. And then Pam tries to do it, and it's like, yeah. And it's supposed to be cringeworthy, and of course it is. So,
well done.
But she's awfully cute doing it. That's all I know.
She is super cute. She is like the cutest person ever. And now she's in bad movies. So,
Bummer.
Hey, I have a movie. Jim Krasinski, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
The movie hasn't even come out, but I feel like I've seen the trailer for the last 6 months.
Yes.
Shoot, what's the name of the movie? Silent Place.
Quiet Place. Yeah.
You guys, have you seen this? I know this is not on the. I apologize. It's not on the outline, but
Yes, I've seen the trailer.
What do you think about it?
I'm super excited because I think Jim Krasinski is really cool. I mean, the fact that, listen, he got Emily Blunt. If you can convince Emily Blunt to marry you, you got something going on. You got to be the funniest, coolest person around. So I think it looks terrific. I like thrillers, blah, blah, blah. Early buzz from South by Southwest is really good for it. I'm very excited about this movie. I'm almost abnormally excited. And a lot of it's really because I want him to succeed. I think he's a very cool person. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The trailers looks really creepy.
Intense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing for not the kind of movie I would think he would go for. It doesn't seem to really. It's like Jim from The Office. He's doing this kind of a movie. It's like,
yeah. And Emily Blunt's and Mary Poppins Returns. I don't know if this is. I know we're talking about trailers, but I feel like I've taken over the show. I apologize, but it's kind of interesting the way she kind of shows up in the end at the trailer. So
yeah, it is interesting. Most of these reboots and remakes and stuff is like, no, I'm not down with this, but this I'm excited for. And again, Emily Blunt, and of course she's in A Quiet Place. She's an awesome actress. I think she's just terrific, and I think that's great casting. And the trailers haven't shown much, but I like the feel. I like the vibe that you get from the trailer for the Mary Poppins Returns. So very excited for that.
I'm glad one of us is, because I looked at it and went, really? I honestly just kind of went, and that was it for me.
And that's why they make more than one movie.
Yes,
because we all have different tastes. Some of us have good taste, and some of us have bad. Usually, I'm the one who has bad taste.
My turn.
The trash I watch.
Although, other Disney thing, did you see the trailer for Christopher Robin?
I have seen it, and I actually like that they're going with English actors and an English Pooh. I've never been a huge fan of Pooh per se, but I do prefer the English Pooh over the American Pooh.
Yeah,
I'll agree. Although there is one thing in the trailer that threw me off, because we know that it's a Disney movie, because the first thing we see in the trailer is, look, it's the castle and the big rainbow arc kind of thing going. And there's a couple other Disney references before we get to from the company that brought you Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And I'm like, oh, you mean that big Disney logo? From the company that brought you one of our other big money franchises, it's us. I'm like, what? Why put that in the...
A lot of people might not be aware of the Disney brand at this somehow. Maybe they found one person. Yeah, that's pretty bizarre.
What Trump-covered rock do you live under?
Well, actually, when I saw the trailer before the movie Wrinkle in Time, which I saw last night. But I saw the trailer, and when they did Beauty and the Beast, I was thinking, they're not making them, because Ewan McGregor can obviously sing, but I was thinking they're not making a musical out of Pooh, are they? When they brought up Beauty and the Beast, I was like, what's happening here? But thankfully, it didn't seem that way.
That's good.
See, other trailers that came out this week, the Grinch trailer, which I think looked horrible, but it did have one bright spot in it that made me go, there's going to be in-jokes. Have you guys seen the Grinch trailer?
I saw it last night.
Okay.
I'm desperately trying to avoid watching the Grinch trailer.
You can watch it just for this, because it's at the very beginning, where his alarm clock goes off and plays that really obnoxious happy song. So he picks up a book and throws a book at it. Did you notice what the book was, Lee?
Oh, crap. No, I did not. I should have totally noticed that, though.
Well, I watched it online and went, did that say what it looked like it said? Rewind and pause. And this is actually up on our website, cinema-savants.com, if you want to look at it. It looks like a Dr. Seuss book, but it's entitled Stephen King for Beginners.
That's awesome.
I kind of went, Okay, I might forgive them for that bit, but
That's very funny.
Well, I'm going to forgive him for who's the voice of the Grinch, which is Benedict Cumberbatch. So I might actually see the movie
Really?
just because, might see it just for that.
That's quite lovely. Yeah, now that has me interested to at least watch the trailer.
you can watch the trailer.
That's excellent casting.
Actually, do either of you guys watch Supernatural?
I have not.
I have seen many ads for it. I have seen no episodes.
That's about the same as me, although I found an episode that I might be interested in because there was a trailer for this. Their episode on March 29th, apparently, what are the characters' names? Sam and Dean and Castile, I guess. I'm just reading it. I don't know how that's pronounced. Get zapped into a TV and turned into cartoons.
Oh, that's fun.
And it turns out they're in the Scooby-Doo universe. So they're crossing Supernatural with Scooby-Doo. And let the Daphne jokes begin, apparently. It looked interesting, so if you see the trailer, go ahead and watch that, and it's probably better than the... I suspect it's going to be one of those where all the good stuff is in the trailer thing. But never know.
That's a fun concept, although the never-ending love for Scooby-Doo just baffles me.
I like Scooby-Doo as long as Scrappy is not involved. So, my kids are still young enough, I guess. Let's see, I mentioned this last week because there was a teaser last week, but now there's a full-blown trailer for the new Lost in Space series, which, frankly, it looks more like the movie did, but you can tell it's being done for a TV show, so it kind of looks like it's going to be better than the movie, although it looks movie-ish. Did that make any sense? I think I lost myself in there somewhere.
Does it look cinematic?
It looks cinematic. That's probably the term I'm looking for.
There you go.
Thank you.
I knew I was here for something.
But that's going to be on Netflix, which brings me back to, the outline. Jessica Jones came out this week. Season 2. I've watched an episode, which is all I've had time for so far, and it looks like Season 1, which is a good thing.
That's an excellent thing.
As far as I'm concerned. Have you guys seen any of it yet?
I have not had time for any of it. Which
you
makes
went to Death Wish. Fine, be that
way. Makes me sad. Yes, I made sacrifices for the purpose of the show. Yeah, I'm very pumped for Jessica Jones because the first season was a great show. I'm really looking forward to how they work the Purple Man in. Because, man, what an awesome character. But
he was. I liked it.
Yeah.
They also announced that Luke Cage will come out on June 22nd. That's Season 2. And there are no plans for a Defenders Season 2.
Which is kind of a gift. It's a major gift to have Luke Cage back. I mean, but...
Yeah.
And I like the Defenders, except for the fact that 1/4 of it was kind of wasted because 1/4 of the characters kind of sucks. And so, yeah, I can live without
the Danny Rand. I can get my butt kicked even though I'm the fist of whatever.
Yeah, I would definitely be the Danny Rand. I just don't like the way they handled that character at all. I mean, it's marginally better Defenders, but yes.
Do you guys think that Black Panther it's great? It's a great film. But do you think Black Panther actually got helped by the success of Luke Cage? In the fact that there's a strong African American
Black Panther
presence.
What are you talking about? What's Black Panther?
Luke Cage is Black Panther is basically it's a Pooh film, and there's a panther who talks, and it's excellent. He's voiced by Ricky Gervais and Benedict Cumberbatch. Help me out here. So what do you?
Bagheera. Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, could be. It helped pave the way. I'm still happily flabbergasted by the success of Black Panther, and I'm sure Disney Marvel is too, because apparently it is going to still win the box office record this week, even though A Wrinkle in Time came out. Not that Disney's crying, because of course they have both movies. Yeah. But this will be the first movie ever to have won the box office every weekend in February. First ever. And a $40 million weekend for in your fourth week. That's ridiculous. It's insane.
In a good way, but that's true.
It's just it's like this is like one of the best movie stories ever to me. I mean, it's just awesome because how long has the African American community said, if you make movies about characters we care about and stop making, of course,
Medea?
they're all about pimps and whores and
right.
a guy in drag, and that's all that the black audience will see.
Yeah, if you build it, we will come. Basically, is what
you beat me to it.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's a great film, but it's
absolutely,
it's absolutely worthy of all the money it makes.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely, it's such a good movie. Still not my favorite Marvel movie ever, but it's a pretty high bar to me. But it's a really, really, really good movie and absolutely deserves all the success. And at this point, it's kind of like, how long is this number one run going to last? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, Disney they probably spent 3 times as much on the hype for A Wrinkle in Time as they did making the movie. I mean, they've got incredible promotions going out for it. And even that, and it can't beat Black Panther. I mean, that just blows my mind.
Incidentally, hey Lee, how was A Wrinkle in Time?
It's a soulless pile of crap.
Ouch.
It no, I think that it was directed by and we were talking about this kind of before the show, but it was directed by Ava, and I'm probably going to butcher her last name, DuVernay, but it seemed like she had never worked with special effects before, and that kind of overtook her narrative because the characters themselves were just they weren't effervescent at all. They didn't really come off the screen at all.
Wow.
Chris Pine's in it, and I like Chris Pine a lot actually, but he's in it so little, and what he has to work with is he's just one note character. The young lady who plays the lead, she's good, but again, I don't feel like she has a lot to work with. And then the script, the actual script itself, as far as the way people talk to each other, is just god awful. And Reese Witherspoon is in it, and along with Oprah. She's one of the 3 special characters. But there's a point where Reese Witherspoon is saying something to one of the kids, and Oprah is like, you need to start being nicer. And Reese Witherspoon's like, oh, I'm sorry. And at that point I was like, was she even being mean? Are they trying to force us on that? It seemed like she was saying stuff, but it wasn't like with any kind of conviction that she was actually being mean. Zach Galifianakis has a role in it, for a very small role in it. The scene he's in actually is pretty decent, but it gets weird. It's just I felt like they tried to fit a lot of story into like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, and they skimmed over so much of the book that it didn't really come off the screen at all. And they tried to do there's like which is the bad guys, the evil, basically it's a form of evil. It looked like something out of Stranger Things, the way the tentacles go out. I expected there to be like a Demogorgon come out, which would have been awesome. Actually, would have made the movie better. But yeah, it was just like it just went and then it ended, and I got. You know how when you see a good film, or even really a bad film, maybe you felt this way with Death Wish, the next day, because we love film so much, the next day if it's a great film, it kind of stays with you. You know, and even a bad film, it's like kind of stays with you negatively. Yeah. This is just like it was gone like the minute I left the theater. I mean, it's just not really. I mean, kids might like it. I don't even know if they would. I mean, I don't feel like the audience was really into it, and the theater was mostly full. I went with a lady who read the book, and we talked a little bit about it afterwards, and she thought it was okay, but I think she was hoping for a lot more, and it was just. To me, it's definitely not worth seeing at the theater. If you have kids and you watch it at home, you can watch it at home. I wouldn't watch it at home again. It's just not worth seeing. Period. Wow,
that's sad, but that backs up. It's got a cinema score of a C, which is obviously it's not terrible, but it's not good either. It's just an average film. Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that your thoughts on the film match what I saw in the trailer. The trailer just looked flashy and not interesting at all. It looked like just a bunch of eye candy, and it just seemed forced. In the trailers, it didn't draw me in a bit. And I haven't read the book, and I'm sure that would make a big difference, but it just doesn't look that interesting. And I'm not the target audience for it, of course, but, well, I don't know why I said that, but most films, everybody should be the target audience, but it just doesn't appeal to me as presented in the trailer. So that's kind of, well, it's really sad for all the fans of the book, because I'm sure they were looking forward to something more than a film that they instantly forget.
Right. Well, I mean, you talked about target audience. I think it's really made for children. So, I mean, you're not the target audience.
Yeah, but I love children's films, actually. So
yeah. Right. I mean, which we can. This just was so, like I said, it was just like I said, the lady I went with, she'd read it and was looking forward to it. And she just thought, like, for Chris Pine as the father, and she felt like, oh, they find him too easily, and it's like there's not really looking for him, and they're on this pathway to find the father, but it's like so episodic. And then I really feel like the director tried to use special effects to kind of tell the story, but then the special effects weren't that great, really. And then what she lost her narrative. She lost her ability to be a storyteller.
Wow.
And I think that really detracted from the movie for me, anyway.
That's a real shame, because, I mean, I've seen two things that she's done before, Selma and that documentary 13th, and they're both excellent.
Which have no special effects, clearly, and I think that's...
Yeah, exactly. And that makes sense, like you said, that kind of... She lost her way. It was like, oh, here's a new toy, which unfortunately happens to a lot of movies that have special effects. It becomes about the effects instead of the story.
Although it would have been awesome if there had been a Demogorgon at the end and then 9 stepped out. I've been like, this movie rocks. But it didn't.
Like, geez, lost my voice there for a minute. Speaking of special effects, and I don't think they have enough time for this next movie. Men in Black 4, we have talked about before, had coming out starring Thor. Fine, whatever. They set an opening date of June 14th, 2019, which is, a year and a couple months. Filming begins soon.
So they better get to work, right?
With as many special effects as they put in the Men in Black movies.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough time.
Maybe they're gonna shoot it on 5 days. Steven Soderbergh, is he directing? Because he's filming it in 5 days on an iPhone 10. It's like that, he could pull it off. Yeah, that does seem like a kind of a tight schedule, doesn't it, for that kind of a film?
Exactly. I mean, there's still that one we mentioned a couple weeks ago. Filming starts in March, coming out in May. Son of a wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
I hope there's no special. We're using real bullets and actually shooting people in the. No, don't do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Speaking of being a bit extreme,
it worked in The Crow.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. I was going to go with a Deadpool reference just because it went into because he was created by Rob Liefeld.
He was.
Who had his Extreme Universe stories picked up by Netflix. So they're going to turn those into a series.
Netflix, which now owns the universe practically. I mean, good Lord.
Except Youngblood, which was the first thing that he wrote for this Extreme Universe. Someone else has the rights to that.
Really?
Which is kind of annoying.
That's kind of weird. Netflix should just buy that company.
They probably have already. They just don't know it.
That's crazy.
But that leads me to... that's going to probably. I think it's going to be an animated series. I can't see them doing Liefeld stuff live. That would cost a lot of money because he does a lot of special effects in his stories.
You have to pad those suits out to a ridiculous extent too.
Absolutely. Which, that's not a direct segue, but it'll do. My Neighbor Totoro. We found this out this week because we mentioned Hayao Miyazaki a lot and how My Neighbor Totoro is a fantastic movie. Watched it again this week with the kids, and they love it. There's a sequel, kind of, called May and the Kitten Bus, which apparently screened twice in the States, once in each theater that they showed it in. Was never released for home use, and apparently only airs at the Studio Ghibli Museum.
Road trip.
Unless you want to watch it on YouTube in kind of a crappy, I've got an old iPhone and I've tilted it kind of way. How did we miss this? Or did we miss this?
I totally missed this, and you are the one who found this, so it wasn't a we thing. You were the detective who came across this, not I.
Give credit to everyone.
That makes me sad. That why is this? I mean, it's all of 13 minutes, but I mean, still.
Yeah, I still want to see it.
Oh, absolutely. It's somehow it has a lot of people go to the museum apparently because it has an 8.1 rating on IMDb. So, which would be shocking if it didn't have a good rating, right? So,
well, yeah, it's got a 2. What the hell did he drew it in crayon? What?
I would still watch it. Actually, it'd probably be even better if he'd just drawn it in crayon. It's like, that just sounds so cool. This May and her friend the kitten bus, which is the child of the cat bus. I mean, just how awesome is that?
And if you don't know what we're talking about, watch My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh my gosh, yes. Amazing.
Although the cat bus did creep me out a little bit.
Oh, the cat bus is super creepy, which is part of the fun.
Okay.
It's
not
like,
just me. I feel better.
Oh no, there's almost always something just intensely creepy in Miyazaki's movies. I mean, the weird little forest sprites.
Those scared the crap out of me.
Exactly, right?
In Princess Mononoke? Yes.
Yeah. The way they're like, they tilt their heads and their heads shake and they look like weird little egg timers that are going to explode or something. They're creepy as hell. Yeah, so there's always something creepy in there. But
in a good way.
Yeah, good creepy. Is there a good creepy?
Until you wake up and see them at the foot of your bed and go, ah! Yeah.
along with the dust mites and No Face, who is ultra creepy. Yeah.
And then we'll flip this completely. Something that was never creepy in the slightest, but there's a reason I'm bringing it up. Give me a minute. Nickelodeon, which does lots of kids stuff, some of which was good. I don't think anything currently is, but they're bringing back Blue's Clues.
Yes! Oh, sorry.
And that worked for my kids, so why not bring another generation in on that?
But is Steve going to be back?
Well, that's just it. There's a picture circulating of John Cena auditioning for the role of Steve.
That's awesome.
That would be so cool. Oh my God.
And part of me is hoping that it would work, and part of me is going, please don't.
That's also kind of terrifying, but
it is, because the stripy shirt made Steve look slender, and the stripy shirt on John Cena makes him look like a Rob Liefeld character.
Yeah.
It wasn't Steve. There was a later generation. Was it Steve that was always the host and they had a different Steve, or was it a different?
Steve was the original one who helped create the show. And then he said and this is sad, he said he was losing his hair and he didn't want to do that on a kid's show. So they turned it over to Patton Donovan, something like that, who played
Vincent D'Onofrio,
Joe.
right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That would be awesome.
Actually, what I found out was really weird.
Oh my God, that's the best idea. Go ahead. Sorry.
When I moved to Germany, we got the BBC version of Blue's Clues and found out that the whole thing really is just massively green screen, because it was showing Steve episodes, and all the character, Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper, I may have that backwards or whatever, all had the same lines and all had the same voice, but Steve was replaced with another guy. Who never even made it to the States, which was just really weird. I mean, it was the same dialogue, just done with a different guy with a British accent.
So they would understand. So they would understand his weird accent. But yeah, when you said Vincent D'Onofrio, that's what they do. They should rotate. Who the heck wouldn't want to host Blue's Clues? And John Cena, he does it for a month, and then his brother Vincent D'Onofrio comes in, and then
Stephen Wright.
What? Oh, well, Stephen Wright would that. You just nailed it, because I was going to say Steve Buscemi. Oh my God, that would be so fun. It would be so twisted, weird.
And then John Hamm as Don Draper.
Don Draper.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the show's off the air because he's sitting there with a glass of bourbon.
Meanwhile, back at the original Steve, which was my reason for bringing this up, I didn't realize we'd segue like this.
How did you not realize this would happen? Come on now.
I didn't realize it would this anyway. The original Steve Burns, has a music career. I would say who knew, but I did. Came out with an album called Song for Dust Mites, which was really. Look up his video for What I Do on Saturday. It's on YouTube, and you'll go, "That's Steve? Really?" It's very odd.
That's awesome.
But because it's musical, it brings me into this segue of news that is not movie or TV, but it's entertainment, so I'm going to count it. There's a new album that came out this week from Jimi Hendrix.
Did
you guys see this?
Is it the blue one? Is it blue? What is it called?
New up and comer.
I didn't catch what color it was, but it's got.
No, I mean, what's the name of the album? Isn't it?
I don't know.
All blue.
I forgot to write it down. Something about the sky, I think.
Oh, okay.
Both sides of the sky.
That's it. Yeah, you're right.
The album's kind of blue, although his fro is red. Anyway, previously unreleased, Jimi Hendrix died in what, 1422?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jim Morrison's actually the singer on this, so it's really interesting.
No, I saw that and went, how can you... I know Tupac has come out with a new album every year since, And Prince is going to have what? It's not a box set, it's a truckload set of all the songs that he recorded but never released.
Well, you knew he had a whole bunch that he hadn't released, but Hendrix, I mean, this is like you said, he died in 67? Is that right? 68.
Something 67, but yeah. Interesting.
A while ago.
Oh, well, no, it must have been later because these were recorded between 68 and 1970.
He died in
1970.
September of 1970.
Yeah, he was a genius. He could have recorded after he died.
Quite true. Quite true. Which I think David Bowie is in the studio right now, as a matter of fact. So.
Okay, watch it. Let's move on.
And now to fill out the rest of the show, something we should have talked about last week, but didn't because we ran out of time. So we're doing it now. Woo! There was a list of people who have never been nominated for an Oscar that was put out by CBS News, and I looked at it and thought, I didn't realize that a lot of these people hadn't been nominated. The ones that stood out for me on their list, because they had a bunch of actors and actresses that, frankly, I'd never heard of.
Right.
But people like John Goodman, who's been in a ton of stuff and done really good, and everyone goes, oh, John Goodman's in it, we must go see it, and never nominated. Ewan McGregor, we mentioned, never nominated. Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Sutherland. It surprised me, Meg Ryan, especially after the restaurant scene in When Harry Met Sally, never nominated. So that brought me up to the idea of who is the best actor who's never been nominated for an Oscar?
Ooh, wow. That
would be Lee Vowell.
It's almost a personal choice, though, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is, I think.
Well, I mean, the Oscars are personal choices. I mean, there's no.
Well, they're not supposed to be. But...
It's not like who led the league in batting average. It's a personal choice thing.
And I threw in John Cusack, Emily Blunt, Steve Buscemi, Idris Elba, and Alan Rickman.
Idris Elba hasn't? I thought he had.
Nope. Wow. I know. It's like, and that's the thing. That's what's weird about the list. It's like we're not talking about people who never won the Oscar, because frankly, most of these people, how did they not win an Oscar? But not even nominated? How did that happen? That makes no sense at all.
Joseph Cotton never nominated for an Oscar,
which is
ridiculous.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, and when you go back further, it's like, how did this happen? So I don't know. I would go with Alan Rickman because he can't get nominated anymore. And he's easily one of the most talented of this entire group, if not the most talented. And everything he's in. I mean, honestly, and it's a genre movie and blah, 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 blah. But how is he not nominated for Hans?
Well, because I think that at the time it was like he was great, but he wasn't Alan Rickman yet, and a lot of people thought of it more of as a Bruce Willis film instead of, and like you said, it's a genre film. I mean, I feel the same way about, like, I'm a huge fan of Hugh Grant, but he's in comedies. I mean, how often comedies are going to be, a leading actor is going to be from a comedy? It's just almost always from a drama. So, you have to be, and he can do drama, but, he's never the lead really in a drama, like
Right.
Sense and Sensibility isn't. But, I think you're right. I think it's the kind of films that these actors are in sometimes just don't, like Myrna Loy, for instance. She's just not in the kind of films, and really even Meg Ryan. I'm not in the kinds of films where it's like, there's some gravitas to it, even though they're fantastic. It doesn't resonate with people who are. We need heavy films for these actors to be worthy of winning an Oscar, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. All too often, that is true.
I was thinking Meg Ryan with Sleepless in Seattle was less of a comedy and more of a romantic movie.
Oh yeah,
in my head, so that might have worked. And I could have sworn that Donald Sutherland had been nominated for the movie version of MASH.
He should have been.
Which, again, you look at the TV series, especially the early episodes, and go, that's kind of a comedy show with some drama thrown in, as opposed to once they get rid of Frank, it becomes a drama with comedy thrown in. Mm-hmm. And the movie it had some comedic bits to it, but I don't think it was a comedy.
It's a trap.
And I would have thought that the way Donald Sutherland did the role of Hawkeye, actually, and why wasn't that nominated?
Maybe when we look back on it now, we see the series and we see Hawkeye. Hawkeye wasn't the lead in the movie, so maybe we thought it was more Trapper, and maybe that's what we're thinking of instead of the other way around. Maybe when we look back on it, we're thinking, why would Alan Alda not be? If he had been in the movie, for instance, not been nominated, but it wasn't really about Hawkeye. So
what's the one movie that John Cusack should have been nominated for? I mean, he should have been nominated for a lot.
Say anything.
Well, actually, that's the one I was thinking. That is actually the one I was thinking of. How was he not nominated for Love and Mercy? I mean, seriously.
Didn't do well enough. Didn't get enough buzz, I guess.
Well, I think that's the thing. Is
and
that
he was half of the lead.
The movies that get nominated are not the big blockbuster movies anyway.
That's true. Well, it is more for actors though, instead of for male actors, not female actors. I think female actresses. Because of not because they're not worthy of being in bigger films, they clearly are. But I think the roles that they're in, females just don't have as good of a choice as a male-driven film, unfortunately, which is the inclusion rider. So I think a lot of times we have the male actors being in bigger, quote unquote, bigger films with bigger budgets, and so therefore their Say Anything is at the time wasn't like obviously a big budget film, so it's going to be hard to get noticed. And again, it's a comedy, so comedies have a much harder time as far as getting, especially male actors, getting nominated for Best Actor.
But then, and it's true. But then you talk about it's so much a male-driven business, and the films are as well, of course. But Emily Blunt, how is she not even nominated for The Girl on the Train? When that happened,
she's a kid, really.
She blew my mind. Yeah, she should be, but again, it's like they've skipped a couple chances for her already, and I really don't understand that at all. And even McGregor is like, what?
He's done so many things that I think are surprisingly good.
It's like
I look at the roles and go, really? That's what he's... And then you watch the role and go, damn, he did a good job of that.
Well, the Star Wars films, like, he's the only reason really worth watching. The first, 1 and 2. Or 1.
Yeah. And literally he is. And it's, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jim Carrey's career has fallen off, but I mean, he could have been nominated for Man on the Moon. He's a comedian, but he had more serious roles. He was Eternal Sunshine
and The Truman Show and Eternal. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's 3 really good performances right there for Jim Carrey.
Did not like The Truman Show because it blatantly ripped off a Twilight Zone episode. But that's just
doesn't everything.
Almost.
Pretty much, yeah. Including real life right now, unfortunately, when you look at Washington.
Let's see, 2 things to close the show off with, I suppose. We mentioned that there's going to be a Martin Scorsese version of a Joker origin film. And they announced they're going to be doing the Killing Joke origin for the Joker. Fine. But they also said that Joaquin Phoenix, who was they wanted to be the Joker in this movie. And someone caught up to Joaquin and said, "So we hear you're going to be the Joker in the Joker movie." To which he replied, and I'll quote, "There's a Joker movie?" My guess would be, no, I guess he's not going to be in it.
Nice.
At least not yet. It could still come about. But there's also... This has to be the movie quote of the week. And it's actually a headline taken from Sci-Fi Wire. The headline reads, "Mark Hamill receives star on Hollywood Walk of Fame. Says he hasn't been this speechless since The Force Awakens." I thought, that's just brilliant Mark Hamill, almost Jokerish of him.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Oh, my God.
So, anyway, I think that's all we've got for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to throw in?
Do not.
Do not, except I'm going to hopefully watch a lot of Jessica Jones today.
I think that's what I'm going to go to, too. So, ladies and gentlemen, go get your Netflix fired up and watch some Jessica Jones. We'll be back next week.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Darn, that's the end.